Hi, this is your instructor Daniel Chang, and this is for Otis class, game 220. This is week three's assignment. So week three, what we're going to do, and I think there was a little bit of a mix-up for the assignments on week one, where week one, a lot of people tended to draw thumbnails of the same character in like a bunch of different poses. That's actually week three's assignment. In week one, what I wanted was a variety of shapes and sizes and all that. So if you've already kind of, well, we'll see. It'll be better for you to start off with a diverse set of characters to choose from, because that's what a art director would want out of you is choices, not just one character in a bunch of different poses at the get-go. Because then, they feel like they're kind of locked in way too early, right? Once the character has been approved, and once you've done some really cool studies on your characters, then we can go in and explore that character that much further, right? And what that does is that process just saves you work in the long run, because if you do a bunch of poses on a character at the very beginning and it doesn't match what the art director had in mind, well, you're going to have to do all those poses all over again, So back to the drawing board, you got to, you know, give the variety of characters until you nail the thumbnail that the art director wants you to move forward with. Because even on the polish phase, you may actually crank out like three different polish phases just on the character before you go into character exploration. So we're on this sort of truncated schedule right now. So week three, now let's just say we pick some characters and I'll show you and now you've already done some nice value studies on your characters. So I'll show you how to do the gestures and the poses and all that kind of stuff. Um, the other thing that I realized was a lot of the uh, even though you may have already taken, say, one life drawing class, I saw some basic life drawing skills that weren't being applied to some of the characters. So I'm going to go over how to put in the simple geometry, sort of like the mannequin figure version of your character, in the process of doing these gesture drawings right now. So I'll show you what I've done here is, well, first off, let's read the assignment. Draw 5 poses and gestures for each of your 3 characters. So that would be 15 total. Be sure to include a standing, a sitting, running or walking, expression type poses to go along with your character. Just a variety. I don't want just like a bunch of poses of one pose, right? It's like, oh, here they are standing, looking up, looking down. No, you want to give a variety of poses, and what these poses do is it gives you a sense of what this character's personality is like and all that. Um, so yeah, pay attention to the posture of the character because the posture actually clues you in as to somebody's personality, and the weight. And what I mean by weight is the weight distribution on the character. Because when you stand up, after a while, you kind of start shifting your body weight to one leg or another, or you know what I mean? Like where is this person resting their weight on, right? And then you've got the silhouette, obviously, for the poses, and whatever the action is on the pose. So I've gone in and just try to make life a little easier. I went to ArtStation and under Shop, Marketplace, I clicked on Photography, Reference, and Humans, and then they've got all these pose packs. Now you'll see like this stuff costs money. You could also just do a Google search if you wanted to. And some of these pose packs, I think they have some free ones as well. As you'll notice, a lot of these are mature content, which means there's some nudity in there. The majority of these models are, they're like lean on the more, aesthetically attractive or sexy, whether it be the male or the female models. So your body types are kind of limited sometimes with these, but even with that, you can actually get something from the pose and then apply it to your character model, and I'll show you that today as well. So this is one way of doing it. The other way, of course, is just a Google image search of you thinking about like, I don't know, zombie sitting, and then just try to find some poses of zombies sitting, right? And so you could just do a Google search, grab some of these photos, and yeah, I ask that you find like 5 for each of your characters, right? So that's what I've kind of prepared here with some of these poses. The next thing what I'm gonna do here is uh, I'm going to on my phone here. I'm going to set it on like a timer of 3 minutes per pose because you don't want to spend too long on your initial poses. You want to just kind of limit yourself to like 1 to 3 minute poses. Once you get into sort of the 5 to 10 minute range, you start getting bogged down in more detailed work, which is fine, but I think if you if you do it like this, you'll at least lay something down first as a foundation. Then you can go back and detail it up a little bit more. But the other reason why you want to go fast at the beginning is that kind of forces you to get gestural and kind of loose with your drawings, as opposed to like very stiff and detailed poses. So I'll go into that. So yeah, 3 minute timer on these poses, and I'm just going to go through it here. So I've chosen 3 very random characters. Like here's one of this sort of athletic, strong, tomboyish girl, female character. Um, and then this one was the flower girl from the value study thing from last week. And part of the reason why I'm reusing some of these is because I noticed today nobody's turned in their homework assignments yet. This is Wednesday morning, so I figured I'd just grab whatever I could. One from the thumbnail assignment, and then these 2 from the tonal studies last week. So I've got the flower girl, the skeleton warrior. What I like about this sort of selection of characters is also the fact that they're very different from one another. So this gives you an idea as to it's a little bit of style difference for everybody. All right, so I'm just going to try to do this real quick right now. Forgive me if it's some technical difficulties or whatnot, but yeah, I'm just gonna start sketching starting now. All right, it's gonna go dark. I'm gonna use a brush, and on my brush setting, I want to go into my drawing brushes from the ones I collected last week, and let's say the lowest brush. That may be a good one to go off of. All right, so she's looking at some kind of hardware or some chunky machine, I would imagine here. So actually a hard round may be better, or slicer. No, slicer's too much. Sorry, this first one's gonna be a dud. There. That may be a better. Alright, so she's looking at some kind of hardware, and here, inky. Yeah, better. Okay, so what I'm doing, the egg shape for the head, cylinder for the neck, etc. This would be some kind of I would imagine the gesture being one leg up, one leg down, this arm up, and hand on this, and perhaps there's a tool of some sort on this hand right here. So what I did was I kind of just slugged in a rib cage there. Um, this arm in the foreground is going to be a cylinder, so it's going to come towards us a little bit. I'm exaggerating that, but just so that we have that in mind, I'm going to draw a sphere for the shoulder, draw a cylinder here for this foreground now, forearm, and it's going to be holding something. And start off by making the hand some kind of a cube, and this person will probably be holding some kind of a, I don't know, a wrench or some kind of a futuristic machining device or something. I'm not sure, but I'll draw a wrench to start with. Over here, gonna draw in the rib cage, which is an egg shape, pelvis, which is a cube, right? This is a cylinder as well, as you can see there, and you could see, you know, it starts tapering a little bit towards the end, and then I've got this ran out of space, but a wedge for the foot. Here's another cylinder for that leg, that thigh, and then here's another one. Oh shoot, I ran out of time. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I just need to draw in this arm, just real quick here. Yeah, so do it and do it quick, right? So there's one gesture down. Okay. I'm gonna do another one now. So same character. This time she's holding some kind of a bike helmet, or it could be a contraption of some sort. I'm not sure. But let's start. 3 minutes yet again. Back on here, I'm going to draw it on a new layer. I'm going to draw each of these gestures separately on different layers. So again, just a start with the head, cylinder for the neck. And on this one, her weight is distributed a little bit like this, where the hips are to the left there, right? So start that off, and the hips. Because we get a better view of the hips this time around, and just to showcase like this is a female character, I'm gonna enlarge the hip size a little bit more on this character. And again, I'm just drawing in the gestures as if it was like a stick figure for now, and then we're gonna come in and give it some volume afterwards. So here's a quick. So yeah, the elbow is usually around where the waist is, and then the hand kind of starts after the pelvis there. So got this, and here's the good part about drawing it on a separate layer is if I kind of run out of room, I can actually shrink by hitting Control T and then scaling it down. And of course, I don't really know what the feet look like from this photo, but I can just venture to guess on that aspect, right? So, and this character's coming out rather tall. We could shorten it later, but just again, notice how the clock is sort of forcing me to just go real fast and not get bogged down. And that's probably the best way to do gesture within a character. So cylinder, again, tapering that cylinder down a little bit, where each time you just kind of bring it back down a little bit. and then there's the feet, and then here's the forearm, and then here's the hand, and maybe the objects overlapping a bunch of this, but this will at least give us our initial lay-in of our character. And then now if I have any time, I'm just gonna come in with some of this detail. Nope, I don't have time. All right, but that's a good start on gesture number 2. Right. Then I go on to gesture number 3. Now she's holding some kind of a rifle. All right. Here I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm just going to start now. All right. I don't know. I may have tilted that head a little too far down, but again, we could fix it later. That's my. Sure. Well, the shoulder is slightly higher up on here, so yeah, but here's my pelvis, and then we're gonna come down to around the knees, and then the feet right here. The arms and the rifle are gonna be real important. Yeah, that head's really bothering me right now, and I'm not sure. I'm not gonna spend time designing the rifle right now. We could do that in another pass later, but I just wanted to block it in. And I'm just gonna come back here on this layer and just, yeah, and maybe enlarge it a little bit too. There we go. Do have a tendency to draw heads a little small, but that's just my foibles, well, comes from doing comics stuff, so sort of the superhero proportions, and obviously this female is not a superhero proportioned character. See, that arm's gonna come towards us, right? This, and then this will come. So I'm trying to draw through and behind. You'll hear me say that term quite a bit. You want to draw as if you're seeing through this character model. Yeah, I made the wrong choice there on the forearm. I think it still comes towards us actually. So there we go. Block. I'm looking down on this leg, and the leg could use a little bit of a curvature to it as well. 32 seconds. Did a little better on this one. So then I can just start coming in maybe on some of the costuming. Again, I'm end up drawing her, but not. So yeah, when I come back with the costume stuff, I'm gonna need to refer to the original, not to the photo, because the photo's just there for the gesture. All right. Cool. So there's pose number 3. And then I found one of this person, this model leaping through the air. So let's see. Is a very graceful pose. Perhaps we could figure out a way to make it less graceful. All right, 3 minutes. Let's go. Okay, so the head is gonna be about here. Again, the neck, and then the torso. But even though the torso is like this, there's like a forward-leaning aspect to the pose. So it's gonna be like this, and then this bend on the pelvis to kind of give us the hips, the let me move this up so I can get some space for myself. Now back down. Yeah, a lot of this is you only get good at this part with more life drawing experience. I'm gonna bend that leg back a little bit. Feel like that may be a bit more heroic. And even though this arm is back, I don't think I'm gonna have the other arm be back as well, but gonna block in that gun. Here's another way to cheat. You can always draw something small to start with and then get larger as we go. So chest in just an indication of it, and here's like the hand. Yeah, so I'm just gonna almost, break away from the I'm breaking away from the pose just so that I can get a more of a running pose with the gun, right? Probably too close. This is also why it's good to start off with a photo, because at least you'll have your base down. Yeah, so from here I can try to figure out, yeah, that may be a little bit more comfortable being a little bit further away from the body or the face there, because otherwise it was kind of looking like she was going to whack herself in the face while she ran. So yeah, pretty good running pose there. And it's going to ring now. There we go. All right, next pose. Ah, a real running pose, like one where coming towards us. Okay, so let's do this pose now. Brush. Starting now. You notice how I draw this horizontal line to indicate that eye line, right? This one's tough when it comes to gesture because a lot of it's coming towards us. But yeah, I want to know what the hip to shoulder relationship is on this one. This shoulder's coming towards us, that shoulder's going back. This leg is coming towards us. And this is where the weight distribution is planted against the ground. Here's where the bent knee is, and the foot is the lower leg is foreshortened, and that foot is in the back. This arm is tucked behind the body, and all we really see is the hand coming out from behind there. But yeah, you want to indicate it because otherwise you could place it in the wrong spot if you're not giving enough space for the arm. Do think my head is a little bit too tilted yet again. Better and larger, better. Something like this. The head to neck position is so important when it comes to the gesture. Right, so from here, now draw out a little bit more of this character, directions, the center line of which she's facing. And then here's the center line coming down body there. And oh yeah, let me shrink this down just a tad so we have room to draw the feet. And I'll usually have a shadow or something like that. Alright, got 12 more seconds. I'm just gonna indicate some of this hair. And again, that's not really the mouth. Okay. Cool. Stop. So there's my 5 gestures for this character. I'll go back and polish it up some more as well. But this is, this is how fast you should be working, right? Just getting down the initial gestures alone shouldn't take more than let's say, 15-ish minutes. Um, well, yeah, depending on how high res you want to go as well. We could just come in and do these separately and then put them out on a spreadsheet later, but pretty good poses for this character, I'd say. Um, so let's move on to the next character. Let me get rid of this text here. Moving on to this next character. The next gesture. On that photo, it's not a great photo. I'm gonna have to make up a lot of it because, of course, that giant box cabinet, whatever it is covering up so much of her body. So the hand on the left is a mystery, the leg on the left is a mystery. And, again, I'm gonna have to think about these proportions, which are vastly different, but I gotta say, at the end of the day, it's just a head size thing. So even if I got it wrong, I think all I really need to do is enlarge the head in this situation to make it fit for this character. Okay, let me see if I could try out a different brush this time. Yeah, that was pretty good. You just want a brush that's fast and you can draw it very quickly. That way it registers everything. If you're doing this traditionally, I would go with pen and ink because again, whatever mark you put down, you're locked to it, right? It's a gesture. You'll be able to clean it up later by redrawing over it again. But in case, let's go. All right, 3 minutes. This pose, that character. All right, let's go. So I've got something like this. The chin, I know, is up, and the head is looking up. And we've got this neck. And even though the torso is moving away from us, this is like the top of the box more so. And then I'm just going to shrink this down a bit so we can. Yeah, I don't know if she holds a knife or whatever weapon. Maybe she has a wand or something. Again, I'm not too familiar with this character's bio, but I'll have her holding like a magic wand of some sort. And then so the leg's gonna come towards us, and it'll bend a little back, and then meanwhile this other leg will probably be coming out here and kind of move away from us, I would imagine. but there may be some foreshortening in the process. Oh, I think I drew that like way too long. Shortening in the process, and then here's like a foot down here. I don't know why this is showing up there, but okay, there we go. And again, this arm here is a mystery, so it could go this way. That's a little bit of a twinning that's happening, so I'm just gonna have it kind of come straight down then. Go back, and then come towards us a little bit, and then come on down. And so just getting this part down is what I'm after here is. And then with the hair, I think the hair would be more like a mushroom kind of shape. And then we'd have that. We probably won't see that other one. And then this is what the skirt. Alright, so that's our first gesture. Go with another one now. Let's see, what's the next pose? Yeah, some kind of like maybe running on the water, like, you know. I'm thinking that this character's like a wood nymph or a sprite of some sort. So maybe there's some grace and magic and dancing, kind of ballet style, with the character's graceful movement. Just gonna move this out of the way for a bit. I'm just keeping, that on screen just as a reminder to myself that, yes, that is the character. All right, 3 minutes. Brush. Oh, her head needs to be much larger. That, perhaps. It's almost alien-like. And then like this, and then the leg, and then the shoulder away from us is higher, whereas the shoulder that's towards us is slightly dropped. And got the hand right here. And then, yeah, this was the far leg, so then the one in the foreground is the one that and may have drawn that too long, actually. So again, shrinking this down and enlarging the head slightly. You'd be amazed at just enlarging the head just a wee tad you're actually doing quite a bit, in terms of character proportions. We're so good at attuning to those subtle differences. Notice how I'm kind of indicating the calf, whereas the front of the leg is generally straighter, the calf is a little bit more curved. And this is that arm again. You also want to indicate possibly, even if the elbow's on the other side, just have a feel for where it is. And so this is the hand going down with the thumb on this side. And this is definitely coming towards us. That. And then you've got the chest. And the hair. Not that. Maybe just an indication of where the skirt is, like so. And then, of course, the big round one. Cool. So there's another gesture. Let's go again. What's the next one? Next one down is a very ballerina pose. All right, let's go. 3 minutes. Box here. I am going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to probably make the left shoulder a little higher, the shoulder on the right a little bit lower, just so that we have a bit of a and this one. Just because you don't want to twin your pose. And what I mean by that is have a completely symmetrical pose. When you know, sometimes you do need a symmetrical pose, but in this instance, for designing an interesting gesture, it's very good if the poses had a rhythm going on where it may not necessarily be completely symmetrical. Notice how I'm shrinking this down because I keep running out of space. Yeah. So where's the weight? The weight's planted on the rear leg, that foot in the back here that I'm drawing. That's where the weight distribution is. This other one that's overlapping on the front is taking on only a little bit of the weight, but this one where the hip is kind of higher like that, that's where the weight is actually distributed, which forces sort of a counterbalance of all the other body parts. It's kind of coming towards us, and then it's going away from us because that's way up high. And then there's the hand. This one's going away from us, and then it's going away from us. And again there. And then this hand is like this. And of course, my head here is too small. So hit Control T, enlarge it. Give a little bit more neck space. It's very important for you to include the neck when you can, just because that's a big part of the gesture. So just going to quickly indicate that in. And of course we've got the hair and something like that. So there's, yeah, make sure you know where the overlap is, right? So this is overlapping that leg, so I'm just gonna draw it a little bit darker, like it's coming towards us. Okay. All right, so that's another gesture. One more. Wait, two more on this character. Alright. This one's a very wood nymph sprite, you know, looking over the pond, maybe to see her own reflection, something like that. Alright, let's time ourselves. Start. I'm gonna have her looking down as if she's seeing her reflection. It's funny, it's like is the spine kind of doing this? I don't know. Maybe just easier just to make the spine curve over like that. Here's the box for the pelvis. Here's the shoulder. And then there's the far shoulder over there. Goes down like so. And then we've got our crouch. So let me shrink this down to make some room for those legs. Notice how I'm like indicating the joints with some kind of a sphere. Just, you know, that's just my shorthand way of doing it. It also kind of signifies like, you know, the knee has some kind of mass to it as well. So yeah, here we go. Here's the thigh. And then this part is facing us and that leg's going away from us. We need to actually take this part and just make it crouch down that much more. There's a foot, and then there's the other leg. Well, it comes out a bit more on that side, and then the foot for this is about there, and now the arms being between the legs. So there's an overlap here. And it's only because you can extend the hand out like so that she is able to reach the ground. Which means there's not a whole lot of weight on those fingers. There could be, but it'd be a lot harder for her to put her body weight on that. So, got this part of the hair. And again, I'm having her sort of looking down. And, you know, we could try it. We can play. We could play if we wanted to. You know, it could be a little bit of both. Where the eyes could be looking down, but the head is still slightly tilted. Stopping the clock. Again, lest we forget the skirt and yeah, all that. Cool. It's a pretty good gesture. One last one for her. That's a pretty simple pose. She's just sitting on the ledge. Maybe sitting on the ledge of a lily pad or a large flower. Like her feet could be in the water. We don't know, but yeah. All right, 3 minutes. Let's go. He's kind of maybe looking at us. Maybe she's having a conversation. She's looking at us, smiling, talking, something. And I'm gonna exaggerate the curve because right now she's not. Her pose is kind of straight up and down, and I don't know, having a little bit of curvature to this, a little slouch, kind of helps with the gesture, especially when the legs are coming forward. But here's the tricky part. This leg is foreshortened, the other one is a little bit further out. So the one in the back, that leg will appear to be longer, but we know it's actually not longer. So this is kind of coming down. You don't want it to be 100% parallel. You kind of want it to be more of maybe a V shape or got the wedge for the foot. Sort of I just indicated with sort of like a triangular wedge to start with, kind of like a door stopper. And then this time she's able to get her hand flat on whatever surface this is. Just going to draw a block and maybe some fingers coming off of it. That. Then we've got the chest area here. Gonna reduce her chest a little bit more from the model, that is. And I think the head needs to get bigger as well. Like that. And gonna still sort of, the head position is very important for the gesture. So, and that's basically looking at where's the neck connected on the head, sort of the middle to the back. Then we're gonna draw in this hair quick as a shape first, and then we'll draw that. There's sort of our center line there, and yeah, you probably do want to indicate some kind of a surface that she's could be sitting on. And for now, I'm just going to indicate a block, but it could be a rock, it could be anything. And it'd be kind of fun if there was some kind of water here, so just gonna draw in some ripples, perhaps. Just indicate a water line. That part of the foot is underwater. We'll see anything else we can do. We could probably, this is kind of tricky to do after the fact, but I can make it more of a V shape. Like having a little bit of overlap. I know that's not on that original pose, but for some reason this seems to work a little better for me, for the gesture that is. Okay. Alright, so there's our wooden nymph sprite. And then, last but not least, the scary knight character. Let me see here. I'm gonna pause here and I'll come right back and do the rest. Yeah, it's important to take maybe a 5-minute break. Okay. Alright, so let's begin. I'm gonna have 3 minutes and I'm start drawing now. So I know the body is generally moving in this direction, and the shoulder is way up here, raised way up. That other shoulder away from us is way down. And this part, that arm's coming towards us, and then kind of going lateral to us, and there's some kind of a, yeah, the fist is kind of lateral to us as well, and here's where the sword is. What I'm gonna do that's different from this pose here is I'm gonna have the skeleton face left instead of face right. That way it'll look like it's about to do a overhand smash. But I'm keeping all the rest of the pose the same here. Better shrink. Oh no, I drew it on. Yeah, I did not make a brand new layer, so that was a mistake. So what I'm gonna do is just make this selection here and hit Control Shift J. That cuts it onto a new layer. Now when I do this, should be fine. Yeah, even though I don't have him holding a shield there, it may be a good, you know, a good idea to design some kind of a shield thing here and got all the arrows, right? And so this is trickier because this character actually has a lot more props. So there's a chance for me to slow down or be tempted to slow down just because of that alone. Just like, oh, I want to draw the armor or I want to draw that cape, you know. Um, I'm gonna draw him as if he's not a zombie at first, and then I'm gonna draw the zombie-ish parts. Cut in with the zombie-ish parts later. So again, thinking about these pieces as cylinders and kind of getting a little bit more gestural with it. Oh, darn it. Almost done. Maybe that arm, something like that. And so, yeah, the neck would be here. Zombies looking towards the left. It's pretty good. Alright. Now, let's do the next one. This is more ready to attack. Kind of a ready stance. Start. Brand new layer. Let's zoom out. Alright. Pretty standard pose, actually. Rather wide-legged stance. Ready for battle, doesn't want to get knocked down, so has a wider stance. This one works really well for this fella just because he's got a bit of weight to him. You know, his body is like a barrel in this instance, so I'm guessing that the arm is doing something like that. Got the sword kind of coming down here. We'll probably be having to skinny him up a bit when we clean this image up. Cylinder. Is that away from us or towards us? I'm not sure. Maybe a little back and then the forearm comes towards us. And this one could be more towards us. Shield at the ready. Yeah, do we want the shield covering up that arm or not? That's another question. Probably enlarge that head a little bit. He is twinning a bit with this pose. You know, if I wanted to, maybe I could straighten out this leg on the right a bit more. Just so that the position is not the same all the way around. And the other thing too is I think his head's a bit more sunken down, like it's neck's jutting forward. Something like that. There's another pose. Make a new layer. Let's go on to the next pose down the line. There, I found a female reference of a female knight. And this one's kind of hard because I'm going to have to make up a lot more of the gesture here. But here we go. Start. 3 minutes. Now, still above us, so we're still looking up. Left shoulder is higher up, so I'm exaggerating that for effect. And then there's like this slight curve there, but I'm gonna again exaggerate the curve just to really pull the gesture out. You can overdo this, but I'm gonna try my best to keep it reasonable. But let's see. Oh, the arm actually goes horizontal like that, and instead of the axe being lateral to us, I'm just gonna have it go away from us in space. So like we would see that, even though this arm is kind of going away from us in space. But what that means is I'm probably gonna exaggerate the arm on the right side here to come towards us, just so that we have some contrast between, you know, the arm going away from us over there and the arm coming towards us over here. And I'm gonna twist the chest a bit towards the left there, and again the legs. It's just a wedge for now. This is gonna go back away from us, so the curves on the thigh over here are actually gonna go that way. And then we've got our shin that's also going away from us, and the wedge up here. I probably could exaggerate this a bit more, kind of like how that's foreshortened right there. Cut it shorter. And then got this part. My head's too small here. Just gonna it a bit. Did not figure out what to do with this hand right here. It could be holding a shield. It could be, just open and, coming towards us. Just depends on how you want to pose. But at the very least, we've got somewhat of a gesture here. And that's pretty good there. Next, let's see. We've got two more. Sitting pose. Gonna move this fellow way up here. Give me some space. Player 17, ready to go. Alright, start 3 minutes. I'm not sure if a zombie would be sitting this dignified. But let's just have it as a starting pose. Perhaps he's more asleep and dead. Shoulder up. That shoulder's down. And this arm is heavily foreshortened coming towards us. I usually try to draw where the hand is, and then I just kind of connect. Just because if you start from point to point to point like that, there's a high likelihood you'll draw it too long. But if you draw sort of the end point first, like where the hand would be, then you're more likely to stop in the right spot. Perhaps this is this could also be the night before he turned as well. Instead of the axe, I'm gonna have the sword. Perhaps it's resting on the ground somewhere there. Let's see, so the knee is over here. And there's a lot of foreshortening going on here. That cylinder. The foot. The foot's a tough one here because it actually comes to a point, but it's coming towards us, so very much like drawing a boat. Boats are really difficult to draw in perspective because, again, the front of the boat is a point. Again, draw through and behind. Don't let the fact that the sword is in the way distract you. And then here's the rib cage. Yeah, this could be the way the knight looked before the turn, or maybe over here it's like the curse is just starting. Yeah, maybe the curse is just starting. Stop that timer. Just do my last minute, draw the foot. And then indicate that this character's sitting on something. Could be a tree, trunk, stump, or whatever. And then over here is like maybe a rock instead of a helmet. It's a little bit. Right, so there's the gesture. My drawing's sitting a bit more upright than she is. She's slouching a little bit more. I think her gesture's slightly more appealing. But quick. All right, last. This is definitely full zombie mode for this skeleton knight. This is I'm just trying to frighten. Very, very animalistic. All right, 3 minutes. I'm drawing the head first. And gestures kind of like a crouch or like a bend here of leaning, crouching forward. And then there's a pelvis that's kind of hidden right now, but in this instance we see a lot of the top of the shoulder and the collarbone. So I'm just going to indicate sort of a upper plane right here, and basically your collarbone looks like a bow, like in a bow and arrow kind of bow. Yeah. And of course all the arms are moving away from us in this instance. And that arm over there is very foreshortened. So not going to get a whole lot of the arm, and it's got to shrink as it goes into space. And over here is pretty cool. Got the whatever weapon you want. Could be a sword, could be an axe. I'm just gonna indicate mouth real fast. Yeah. And then here's the leg, which is a cylinder coming towards us like so. And then that leg is it's actually being hidden. Shrink this now. Almost done here. Got the foot. Like a wedge. And the ground plane, we're looking down, so the ground plane's actually doing this thing where we're seeing a lot more of the ground actually. That's why that foot, even though it's planted on the ground, is way up here, right? It's a little bit of a perspective. And I'm gonna enlarge this head. It's fine. Come back later, enlarge the head, and then maybe give it a more of a tilt like that. Move it forward as well. Yeah, this is the monster moment of this character. Rawr, you know. And yeah, maybe he's holding something here. Maybe he's just got the claws that, you know, he's ready to. All right, I hear you. Okay. Now, the assignment's not done yet, even though, you know, a bunch of the hard work of the assignment is where we have our initial gestures. And I wanted you to really go fast on these initial gestures, so we could kind of put away those sheets and now focus solely on um, our character here. Um, the other thing that I wanted to show you are just like what the end goal is, right? So I collected a bunch of what they're not just called model sheets, they're called attitudes. Um, and that's kind of what this assignment is, where we go in and we show all the characters' attitudes. So you'll see examples here, right? Like you know, Joel and Ellie, and here's like when Ellie's holding a gun, she's scared, and she's, you know, it's not she's not holding the gun, confidently yet, because she's still fairly young in the first game. Joel's a bit more experienced, right? This is part two. Now Ellie's kind of grown up a bit more. She's she's accusatory, a bit more aggressive in that pose, right? Um, so, there's a lot going on here, but I just wanted you to focus on sort of Ellie and perhaps whoever she's interacting with. We wouldn't have to draw out these other characters, although that would be that would be great if you did, but it's more work than what the assignment is asking for. Um, Here's a cartoonier version of an attitude sheet. You could see the attitude of this character, kind of lackadaisical, you know, pretty chill, um, kind of character. Although he does get frustrated, so not entirely a good person, as we could see by the smoking there. Here's a very simple, just action poses for Sinbad, this old film. Um, Here's more from Last of Us, you know. Got, this person actually has had some gun training, you know. She's holding that pistol properly. It would be good in this pose if she looked a little bit more tired. Here's some other drawings of just, I don't know what kind of character this is from this person's portfolio, but kind of hunches, has a creepy quality to this character. Um, Other than just the fact that this character wears a mask, but just the pose itself is reminiscent of, I don't know, like a witch. Um, Here we've got the Flynn Rider from Tangled. You can see he's cocky, he's self-assured, he's fun-loving, he's adventurous. So you got a lot of these rather casual, heroic attitude sheets here. Here you got, hey, I'm I'm handsome and got the one leg up, and then over here on the left is like, oh, not smug enough. Let's make him more smug, you know. So what may help is writing down what the attitudes are for each of your characters, right? Whether they be smug or I don't know, altruistic, some other, last week we were drawing the flower girl who was altruistic. Here's like an animator's take on Last of Us. Here, yeah, here you can see more of the close-up of the attitude here. Sort of, tangled, more tangled stuff. Glenn Keane, of course, is great with these, a master of animation. It could be a creature, and the creature can have different attitudes. This crocodile's obviously evil. It's picking up a young girl by her skirt. It's a dangerous situation. Here's kind of a cartoony take on attitude sheets. The hair really helps. The hair is almost like an effect, how it flows. Here's a kind of a simple attitude sheet for this style, but you could see, this character immediately when you see the character in these type of poses, the character becomes a lot more relatable, a lot more likable as well. So yeah, I just collected some of these just so you get a sense as to like, yes, now we're taking the character that we chose and we're applying these gestures and these attitudes to them. Um, how much do we render it? Um, this is definitely to the benefit of your portfolio. I would say just try to gauge it. This is very nice as far as like tightness goes on the rendering of it. I would probably add a little bit of grayscale to something like that. Um, Something like this could be overdone. You probably will run out of time trying to do 15 of these. I don't think that's necessarily reasonable, but just to show you like later on when you're doing like sort of a mood sheet or character moments, mood boards, people in films and uh, some in video games can take it to a higher level of fidelity when asked. This is a bit looser, a little bit quicker, but it also there's a lot of painting going on here, as well as, uh, the character's attitudes, she's feeling the pain of being stitched up, but she's taking it, and she understands like this is just necessary or else she'll die, you know. Here's also Tangled. I love these gestures like this one where the character's running and hopping like that. Um, Very similar to some of our sprite character attitudes and gestures. Morphlin Rider, Tarzan. They did a lot of studies on Tarzan. Legend of Korra, obviously, for this franchise, they studied a lot of martial arts poses for her. Minnie and Mickey here, all these different attitudes. Donald dressed as a Robin Hood character. More Last of Us. Two characters arguing. This character being rather confident, and this character just, I don't know, just trying to make her case, I guess. But you could tell this character on the right's already made up her mind. This is a great, great drawing. It really shows the camaraderie between Joel and Ellie here. Yeah. So here's like the Tarzan. Now the difference though is in this instance he's actually in the same pose but from different angles. So that's not really what I want. I just want something more like this with the character in different poses, but really showing off the character's personality. Obviously they studied a lot of ape gestures to kind of show what a human would look like, mimicking an ape. Same thing here, you know, very polished. Something a bit more gestural is okay. This is very well painted though. But yeah, if you had something like this in your portfolio, pretty pretty impressive, I would say. So that's where we're going with a lot of these character attitude sheets, really bringing life to the character, some personality, some appeal and likability, or fear in this instance of this zombie creature. So next steps. Now that I've got the gestures down, how am I going to take it to the next level, right? That's the question. So that initial step was very much like when I was drawing the flower girl that I just laid in the simple geometry of the cylinders and sort of the egg shapes of the rib cage. And so now I'm just going to knock this down a little bit and just going to create a brand new layer. And this is where we go into more of the polishing phase and really go to show like, hey, this is a character, not just a loose gesture. Like I want to be able to recognize this character when I see it here, right? Um, and definitely I want to find a brush. Maybe the sharp, soft charcoal? No. Let's see this one. I'm trying to find a brush that would be good for us to sketch with. Yeah, the hard round's pretty good. We could really get something polished with the hard round. And the key is not to make your brush size too large. So I'm trying to draw this character on model now, right? And because I'm looking up on his face, I'm drawing the eye kind of like I'm looking up at it, like these cheekbones, literal cheekbones are getting in my way. That. And of course, the visor there. And maybe I'll cheat it a little bit. Like as I go here, I'm thinking maybe I want to show more of the mouth, so maybe the bottom half of that visor is more broken. That way I can really see it. But for the most part, you kind of want to lock down your design before you get to this phase. But that's not to say you you might have some discovery while you're doing this. Discovery, like for example, do I think that this helmet would stay on the skeleton's head? Uh, yeah, maybe there needs to be a piece that kind of wraps itself around the corner here to just to show like, yeah, maybe part of that helmet would still stay on. Um, Emphasizing the largeness of the monster mouth, and of course darkening down. A skull's always gonna look like it has a bit of a smile to it, but so got this. N- Again, you be the judge as to how detailed you want to get. This assignment may take a little bit longer now that I'm doing it myself. Um, you know, but what I'll do is I'll do one gesture for each for now for the sake of the demo. But for the homework assignment, I want all of these to have sort of a cleaned up version of uh, of the gestures. It's really gonna sell your character. And again, I'm saying this more to the benefit of a portfolio. Uh, you know, when I think of class assignments, I'm just thinking, yeah, you get all A's and you know, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to your portfolio. And so when you approach it from the attitude of that as opposed to like the importance of getting a good grade, it's like you'll definitely get a good grade. You know, I'll be honest if you, but it does require a person to go above and beyond what the assignment is initially asking for as well. So I'm trying to sort of figure out, because I didn't figure out what the inside there looked like, but there's probably some straps, and I'm just loosely indicating it within the gesture. Uh, and then over here, of course, you remember we have the armor, which kind of ends about there. And then I'm just going to indicate these striations here. Wrapping still around the form. There's a bit of, you know, find an egg. Draw a line on an egg. See how it wraps around that form. You know, over here, you know, could be the same sword that he's drawn, or it could be yet another sword that has yet to be drawn by this creature. I'll draw it in for now as if it's, you know, hasn't been drawn out yet. Here we'll actually, I mean, with the zombie in particular, we'll actually see sort of the inside of the top of the pelvis a lot more than we would in a normal human, so that's interesting. And even though I drew a cylinder on the thigh, the armor that's on that thigh only it ends around here, I would imagine. So the entirety of the armor piece wouldn't be the entirety of that thigh. You would at some point have a transition here. And some straps again. And you'll see guts down there. And you might not get an opportunity to see the backbone, but if you did, it would be around here-ish. And of course, this knee, according to our model sheet here, this is, you know, exposed bone. So I have the patella, and, you know, we don't have to draw it out with completely perfect anatomy either, just because there's gonna be some bits of dead rotting flesh, you know, some of that beef jerky still on there, you know. So but it's good to know what the bone is. You may want to look that up. I've already done a lot of anatomy in the past, so I'm able to work off of my knowledge of it. I'm just indicating very lightly sort of this, whatever that fleur-de-lis pattern is. And then over here we've got our sort of cloth bit, and then maybe it starts tattering up over here and it turns into this weird fleshy flesh and bone kind of thing. And then there's the hand. You may want to research what a hand going away from us looks like. But yeah, so maybe I do turn this back into an axe just to make it different from the sword. I don't know. And draw through and behind. And because this is old, that axe head's gonna get a little bit nicked in the process. And this part is gonna probably have a bit that comes out there. And I don't know, what do you want on the back of the axe? Maybe a spike. That way it's a weapon, like a war axe, as opposed to just your normal woodsman's axe. Alright, so got that. Oh yeah, the foot. The foot is bone, so again, I kind of just want to indicate it for now, but we can look up a foot. And the one in the back is pretty. Yeah, the one in the back's just going to be more of a silhouette shape. It's just a shape. But we will see possibly a little bit of that thigh armor, as well as the whatever's the loincloth that's between the leg. Make sure that we make it look like tattered cloth and not something else. And then, of course, we've got our two arrows that he just can't reach and get rid of, so. Notice how drawing those gestures loose is helpful, because if I came in on this and just drew all these armor detail and stuff, well, first off, it would take me a heck of a lot longer, only to find out that it might get covered up by something else. And then the other part is the gesture on this pose just looks so much better. My character would have been posed very stiff if I had gone in without the gesture phase, right? So if I were to kind of hide this, or sometimes I like keeping it in there just because I love the way a sketch looks. All I'll do is tone down the opacity on the initial gesture sketch, and that way this cleaned up version takes precedence. I'm gonna hit Control G and group those together. So I'll just go skeleton yelling, something like that. Skeleton yelling is what I'm gonna name it. And then this, I'm gonna do one more layer, and that is just to give it a little bit of grayscale. You are all familiar with what this entails, but I'm just going to select the outside of my sketch that I just did just now. I'm going to hold down Shift and select that, and hold down Shift, select that part. I'm going to go on my brand new fresh layer here, and then come in and see which parts didn't make the selection. So this finger, for example. Oh, wait. Inverse select. It's inverse select, so I'm just gonna deselect actually. Hold down Alt because I selected the outside, right? Holding down Alt, I'm just gonna select whatever bits here that I want to be in our. So yeah, the sleeves didn't quite select correctly. All this stuff right here. The arrow did not get there. Gonna bring that in. This arm right here. There was a big old gap right there on the armpit, as you can see. Uh, this part and the pommel of the sword. Um, these are actual cuts into the sword, so I'm just gonna cut in there. Let's see if there's anything else. Gonna make a better silhouette here of that foot in the back. It's looking pretty sweet, I gotta say. Okay, now I'm just gonna come in real fast and do the swipe. Again, gradient tool, classic gradient, linear, normal, 19% is correct. Oh, wait, gotta inverse this. So undo, Control Z, and then hit Control Shift I, and that inverse selects, instead of the outside, it'll select whatever's on the inside, like this. See that? All right. Oh, there's probably, yeah, the tattered cape that I forgot. See, now when it's all tone, has tone to it, I start noticing all the bits that I missed, right? So that's cool. We'll include that in there. Maybe without a drawing, I'm just gonna select it right now. Just cut holes into it. Tattered cape. And yeah, I'm just gonna swipe again and make sure the cape is a little darker so it's behind this character. And then other areas that need to be in shadow are kind of where the guts are, where you can actually see the abdomen stuff like that. So that pops that rib cage forward right away. How do we pop the skull forward? Well, we select around the skull, all around the neck area here, and we just kind of put in a shadow. That. And we hide that. See that? How that kind of adds a shadow beneath and makes the skull pop forward. We can also make a quick selection of just the material of this cape right here and darken that as well. See anything else? Probably can just separate the arm that's going away from us. I'm just going to reselect this section here. And maybe darken it a bit. Okay. Oh, I totally missed this foot toe area here. So let's grab that real fast. Cool. Oh, yeah, let's pop the fingers forward on the thumb forward here. So what we can do is just darken the palm of the hand, unless if this creature is casting some kind of a magic spell in which there would be a glow maybe in that hand, you know. But this way we'll have show you, we'll have the fingers kind of pop forward a bit more, claw, or put in a cast shadow between the skull and this armor bit, the helmet. Like that. Right. You can go further and further detail out some of the values here, but for now this is pretty good. You know, remember we darkened that leg and the loincloth and whatever was kind of away from us, so maybe even this little bit right there. Just one swipe. Uh, yeah, a little bit further there. Cool. So there's our skeleton warrior yelling. You know, again, if you choose a light direction, we can actually go in and do further with that, go further with that. But For now, let's go on to the next one. And we've got our little flower girl. There's a running pose, a ballerina pose, uh, a crouching one, sitting. Uh, let's see. I think I like this one. So I'm gonna demo this one, and but all of them are gonna need to get cleaned up, just so it looks more like the character. If you just submit something like this, it's just gonna look unfinished and wouldn't belong in the portfolio. It'd be useful, but just not for somebody else to be able to take one look at it and immediately go, "Oh, I understand what's going on." Yeah, may get lost. Not everybody can read sketches. That's something you'll learn. So I've got the hair. Yeah, gonna closer and kind of feel out the rest of this head. The center line's there. That means the eyes got here. The expression is important here in this case as well. Even if she's looking down, sort of the the look of kindness or melancholy needs to be on the expression to really allow us to understand who this character is, right? And mouth. Is she singing? Is she is she talking? I'm gonna have the mouth open just slightly. So it looks like she could be singing. And again, my initial sketch was just that, just to quickly lay it in. I'm not a slave to my original lay-in. Uh, I want to always have the option in my head to change it up if I needed to, right? So, and of course, this one will be overlapping up front, but it's kind of see-through, so we'll see a little bit of it, and then this one over here is going to be completely behind the hair. And the shoulder. Overlapping that other leg. And we may get a little bit of her shoulder blades on thin thin people. Sometimes you could see the shoulder blade. That. And over here we have sort of the almost a Tinkerbell-like dress. May see a little bit of an indication on the side here, the transition there, and over here as well. And let's see here. The leaves, of course, but let's not get bogged down with that just yet. We need to address the skirt, which would probably be something like this, where it would overlap the top of that thigh, right? And then this part right here, well, yeah, maybe it'll actually go all the way up here because this part is kind of a V shape. So the back here may still be kind of frilly, and there may be a little bit of a breakup here, which is fine. Yeah, is it a painful moment? Is this the I Want song, as is the case in every Disney movie at some point? The main character goes into an I Want song. And oh, the boots, right. So you want the boots to have a little bit of thickness that breaks it out from. This is tricky because it wraps around there. And then the wrinkle. I know it's a video game class, and I do tend to refer to a lot of animation stuff, but perhaps there's a place for something like this within video games as well. Something other than your main character going around shooting and killing everyone. Remember there was a game called Child of Light that was very similar to these type of themes. It's an RPG, so that could be that could be the kind of gameplay we're addressing, as opposed to the first person shooter. The first person shooter with the girl with the flower dress would be very different. But here's her hands. Again, I'm kind of just indicating this would be her thumb, and this would be the inside of her wrist. And there would be other fingers on that side. But then she's wearing the really cool wrist straps that can help us on our, um, the cylindrical lines that kind of show if it's going towards or away from us, right? So there's that. And this would be in front of that foot, because that foot is further away from us. I would probably leave this a little bit more ambiguous, meaning at some point there's a blend on the bony landmass in the or the bony landmark in the skin there. All right, and then of course the even larger, more sheer. That. Okay, so let's go back to this gesture layer and just reduce the opacity of it and go to our cleanup layer. Drawing is redrawing, so If you if you're trying to nail everything in one hit, you might be able to if you're amazing, like Kim Jong-gi, but for a lot of us, what we do is we draw in the lay-in, and then it's a process. With enough experience over time, you could you could have drawn pretty much everything that's, you know, uh, in front of you, and then you would be able to, you know, appear like you could draw everything. But I think even brilliant artists, if they're drawing something that they've never drawn before, a bit of research is in order. Trying to figure out if there should be a front plane because this is still a slight 3/4 angle to the knee. Before I go too far, I want to make sure the eye is in the correct position. Hit Control H. Yeah, so yeah, it's like off. It was just off by a little bit. Okay, cool. Let me flip the image real fast just to make sure that I wasn't better. I think this. Yeah, cool. And then flip it back. Do remember to flip it back because there's been instances in the past where we've, oh no, not like that. There's been instances in the past where I've worked with artists that they forgot to flip it back, and then the character, like the holster would be in the wrong spot and all that, you know. So that's just something to keep in mind. Flower, girl, and then come back and give give some tone. Select around her. Got this. Hit Control Shift I, and now I'll positively select all the stuff back in. There's some comic book artists that just hire, you know, students out of school just to do what are called the flats, and that a lot of that is this kind of selection that's happening right here. Could be a potential first job out of school is just creating flats for a comic book artist. Here, just get real good with that selection tool. On the brand new layer, I'm gonna radiate. So I think I missed one finger over there. So, yeah, so cool. And yeah, we can darken the hair. We can find all the bits that are dark on the concept and be a little bit more consistent with that here. Like for example, the leg, knee area here would be slightly darker. And this part as well. wrist straps as well. So so now I hit Control J, probably hit Control J a couple of times, and that'll give our cool indications to where the light and the darks uh, spots are. I'm just gonna quickly come back to my line layer and draw in the leaf pattern on here, and maybe darken the back slightly like that. Um, let's see, we could come back in with white as well on a brand new layer and just draw in some of our seed pod details. Is it that important? Not not terribly. Just an indication for now. Just so we know it's a little bit different. Cool. We could go in and do a bit more shading on the face as well, but you know, that's good for now for the gesture phase, you know. Um, let me take another breather, and I'm gonna come right on back and finish with this character, this gesture. All right, back. Okay, gonna draw this character with this gesture here. Notice how when I'm doing the this gesture phase, now I'm focusing on my rough and the character sketch or grayscale value, and not the photo reference. You know, at this point, if I rely too much on the photo reference, then it's going to stiffen up. It's going to change up the style to not match the concept for the character, and I may enter in some details um, that aren't necessary, right? So, any case, let's lower the op- opacity of this running character and and put a new layer on there. Um, just looking at it, I can kind of tell that my head on this character is a little bit too small. And, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna enlarge it a little bit just so that she feels a bit more, I don't know, uh, less superheroic. I know she's supposed to be rather strong, but I'm feeling that it was a little bit too exaggerated from before. Okay, so now I'm just going to do the cleanup phase. So it looks like she's wearing some kind of goggles, and the hair split in an interesting way here. If I need to, I would go back and take a look at some of the, let's see here. If I need to, let me go back and take a look at some more of that character's model sheet here. Okay, so over here, possible Han Solo haircut? Maybe. All right. have the center line, and I'm just drawing this in my natural style. It may not be your natural style, but I'm just trying to go with what I'm comfortable with here. And I emphasize the lashes a bit. Have that mouth slightly open. And where's she looking? She's probably looking towards the right. Go. And maybe a good opportunity now to also look up what these goggles, aviator goggles perhaps, might look like. Again, because I'm skipping a step as far as the character cleanup phase for this, I have, my idea as to what this character looks like is not as fully realized as those previous ones. But I did mention in the last character uh, review session that we should expose the face a lot more, um, just because it it makes the character easier to relate to when you can see their face. It's one of the reasons why we'll see in a lot of superhero movies where when the actor needs to act for some reason, the mask will break off or be ripped apart. It's just because it's like, oh, it's the actor's about to have like an on-screen moment, right? Um, they're not going to be masked up when it's time to have their character moment. So yeah, I'm pulling this down here, and I'm not entirely sure what this suit looks like either. I just know that it ends in some kind of a tool belt, so I would probably make the tool belt uh, hang asymmetrically as well. So be something like this, slightly looser. Notice how when I'm drawing here, I'm drawing in big, broad strokes and not a bunch of little uneasy lines. You want to still draw these rather gesturally. And there might be a glove on that side as well. So again, our cylinder indication tells us, and I don't know what the gun design is. I'll just make something up right now. It may not be 100, but I don't know what that tool is, but it looks like there's a pouch of some sort there. Um, I don't know. Uh, we'll see. Just just gonna indicate it for now. And then we have our shorts. You rarely want to just end the costume like like that. You'll There's probably going to be some kind of a trim on these things, just so that I don't know, it looks like it's designed to end there as opposed to there was a rip or something. So remember our cylinders? This helps a lot to indicate how these shorts are curving, right? When it's curving down like that. And then I've got the pockets there. And there's going to be pockets here as well. Erase out this bit and then draw in this bit. So there's probably something holding, that overlap closed. There's a fly here. There may be a secondary belt, like one to hold the pants up, and then the second one to hold the tools. Uh, so that's something to consider. It may not just be a single belt. Just look at how mechanics and carpenters work. I'm kind of emphasizing a bit more as if she has a shoulder pad underneath, um, so that the shoulders are a little bit broader for it to kind of make sense like that. It's like bringing back the 80s business suits for women, where a lot of women started entering the workplace in the 1980s, and that caused a fashion trend to occur, which was large shoulder pads on the business suits. She does not have trigger control if her finger is right on there. Maybe it should be, kind of in a pointed finger position. Again, I'm not exactly. I mean, it would be great to have the gun design figured out, but I don't. I haven't put the time into that yet. For the sake of the demo, I'm just making something up real quick on the fly. Doesn't have to be the final design, of course. Could be like a cylinder or something in here. Like in Star Wars, it's like an energy cell. Excuse me. Question here too is, are the legs exposed when she's wearing shorts like that, or does she have a continuation of whatever this the suit is up above? Um, Feels like it would make sense if it was a jumpsuit and then she put the shorts over it with the cargo pockets, like she just wants the pockets. Um, but yeah, having the exposed legs, I don't know. It feels like, well, you're gonna get a lot of scrapes and such. Again, by this stage, you want to already be beyond the design phase of your character um, design. So I'm spending a little bit longer just because I have not gone through that process yet with this character. So I'm still having to figure out a lot of elements of this character's design. So there's probably some laces here, and then you're just seeing the tip of the steel toe tip of that boot right there. Um, yeah, I don't know how buff you want to make this character, but you could. Could be like a, yeah, I think in order to sell the idea that the suit is some kind of a space suit, you're gonna need some additional design elements on there. Like for example, there could be a patch, on the side, whatever logo is the space program that this character's part of, right? There could be tubing that is run along uh, the inside, like um, they have this. They're called pressure suits, and it's what it is when you're pulling G's, like going real fast. What tends to occur is the blood leaves your brain, and so and so they need a suit that'll just push push along your lens, so that the blood can return back into the brain. Because otherwise, pilots will start blacking out all of a sudden. So maybe having some hoses that are attached could be the markings of oh, that's a pressure suit, that's a space suit. Do some research. Um, don't just don't just put it in there just because I mentioned it. But um, um, the other part too is, are there any special characteristics about this character that really tell you a bit about her personality, like, piercings, tattoos. There's always there's always something you can do to kind of make a character a bit more unique. It could be the hair color is dyed a certain color that is not your usual hair color. Uh, I don't know, but you come up with something cool. Right now, I don't have this filled in, but if it was, there'd be a tool of some sort in there, or maybe it's the holster for the weapon. I'm not sure. Regardless, you're gonna have to add a little bit of thickness to it so that it's believable. And then, of course, we've got our shadow down here, right? Just gonna erase out. Still just a sketch. All right. So now that I've got that part in, I'm gonna select the outside, Control Shift I. Now this character should be selected. Make a brand new layer. You want to put your tone on a separate layer, and then you want to come back and select back in all the parts that are missing. But this is a faster method actually than having to go in and manual select everything. Uh, you'll get a cleaner selection that way, but this is slightly faster. So I notice the boot is missing some bits. This leg with the knee is also missing some parts. And yeah, I want the shadow to also have tone to it. Something like that. Now, I'm going to swipe once, twice. Oh, you can see where I missed it. Undo, undo, and gonna select this hair. All right, let's go again. Swipe it once, twice. Yeah, for the most part. There's a little missing piece in here. We'll get that later. Um, so just gonna deselect, say, the face. Could be, you know, thinking that that's a little bit lighter. Um, and possibly deselect this tool belt, which should have a buckle on it. I didn't draw that in, but all right. Once, twice, and then we can deselect, say, this spacesuit. And if we do want the leggings to be associated with that, the leggings would also have the same value. Right here on this knee, and right here over here, like so. And oh, maybe the guns can be deselected too. There we go. And oh, the goggles. I don't know if she has light hair or dark hair. Right now I'm going with dark, but okay. Swipe once, swipe twice. This light dark patterning is now starting to make this character a little bit more readable. Still deleting the gray on that maybe once, and then I'll want the sort of boomerang A shape to be darker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Right. And so that's how you can quickly put together a character. You add a little bit of the side plain tone to this as well. It's gonna do some of this outer area. Just gonna select the ones hide. Not bad. Cool. So that's the tone for this character here. So let me grab all these layers and just group them and go running, uh, I don't know, mechanic. Cool. How should we present our homework assignments at the end? Okay, let's show you how I would do it. I would create a brand new sheet, hit new, not pixels but inches, and I would make this about 17 wide and height, make that 11. And instead of 72 DPI, make that 300. And stop, hit, enter, and make this sheet. So from here, I'm just gonna grab this, start, and when you're done with it, you'll have a bunch, but for now, let me just place in all the gesture images uh, that still need to be cleaned up for this character. And what I would do is I would enlarge the ones that have more importance and shrink the ones that are less important. You'll have to make the judgment call there on which is which. So I'm just gonna select these, hit transform, and just kind of reduce down to about, say, about there. Gonna grab this. Again, I'll always have the version of this character in high res in the working file over there, but at least now we have, them on this page like so. All right, so that'd be the first character. The second character, we've got this flower girl. Oop. I'm just assuming in this instance that all these characters are in the same universe, which I know they are not, but just for the sake of the demo, let's pretend they are, my three different characters. Right. Yeah, here, Control T, something like this size to start with. So where's the sitting girl? Must be that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you want to be able to separate all these, shrink them down so that they fit. And when it's done, it's gonna look great. It's gonna have tone on there, and There it is. This one. And then this one will probably be a smaller. Okay. Think I need to make room for one more. Uh, how should we do this? Well, I guess I could just extend my canvas. We don't live in the age of print anymore, or else I would have tried to conform to the 11 by 17 a lot better. Why is that? Well, because we used to print our portfolios back in the day, and now we don't. We no longer really print our portfolios as much. Now it's all online, right? So you may have three separate sheets or put them all on one sheet. If you put them all on one sheet, it's a heck of a lot easier for me to critique. So that's that one, and let's go with the skeleton now. Let's bring all the skeleton stuff back here. So what do I know? But the skeleton, what a weird world this would be. We have like something that looks like a space bounty hunter. We've got an evil skeleton zombie, and we've got this like almost Tinkerbell looking character. I guess that's another way to figure out a unique IP is just putting random stuff together and going, huh, what would that be like? Right, so again, I'm pulling all these characters apart from one another to make space. So I think I need to shrink down a few of these. These two down. That, right. So yeah, you kind of get a sense here of what your homework is going to look like at the end. When you turn it in here, you're going to have you're going to have all three characters up on a sheet, and you're going to arrange them in the decent way. They don't all have to be the same size. What I would do is I would emphasize by enlarging the size of the ones that are more successful. Yeah, always put your best foot forward. Put the more successful pieces, make those larger, and then the other gestures, could kind of take a back seat. But yeah, hope that's all clear. Save out this, at the end. But yeah, having all these gestures toned, and it will really look cool at the end of the day when you put your portfolios together. Again, on the working sheets, I would work somewhere else, and then when you need to arrange a layout, use the working sheet. That way your working sheet will have the highest resolution of versions of these characters, and not, you're not limited to just the shrunken down versions at the end of the day. All right, so that's it. That's the homework assignment.